Hey there everyone, I'm your host Jeremy Burke-Miller, and today we'll be exploring the corrupting nature of this truly evil entity, the Carnage Symbiote. Today we will be talking about such a character who is not only one of the deadliest foes of Spider-Man, but also one of the characters who forced Spider-Man to team up with other villains to beat him. That's right, we're talking about the one and only Carnage. The name Carnage fits him and his personality well. All he does and strives to do is create havoc and destroy everything, starting from destroying cities to bonding with other strong characters to beat superheroes. He's done it all. Before moving into the details about our symbiotic villain, it would really help if you subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell. It's free and you can always change your decision. Without further ado, grab a bucket of popcorn, get webbed to your seats, and let's jump right into the video. Who are Venom and Cletus Kasady, and how are they responsible for the creation of Carnage? When we hear the name Carnage, two names which pop up in our heads are Venom and Cletus Kasady. First, let's talk about who these two are. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last century, you must have heard the name Venom. Venom is an alien symbiote from the planet Clintar. These symbiotes need a host to achieve their true potential. When they find a host strong enough to handle them, they form an entity with the combined personality traits of both the symbiote and the host, though sometimes the personality may be dominated by either one of them. Venom was no different. When Venom first reached Earth, his first ever human host was our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. After a series of events when Spider-Man realized that the symbiote was making him corrupted and violent, he decided to get rid of the symbiote using loud noises and fire. This separation made Venom extremely angry and caused him to hate Spider-Man and hold a massive grudge against him. Soon after, he bonded with the famous news reporter called Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock hated Spider-Man as he thought that the web slinger was the reason for his bad luck in life, and hence, when the two combined, they bonded perfectly over the mutual hatred of Spidey and decided to take him down. On the other hand, Cletus Kasady was a sociopath and homicidal sadist who had been the reason behind numerous murders, including his grandmother's death, which he did by throwing her down a flight of stairs because she used to abuse him. He also killed his own dog with a drill because he was jealous of it. When he tried to kill his mother by throwing a hairdryer in her bathtub, she attempted to kill Kasady, but was stopped and beaten to death by his father. His character was originally modeled after the famous DC Comics character, the Joker. After this, he was sent to an orphanage known as St. Estes' home, where he was abused and bullied by the other kids. He took his revenge by pushing a girl in front of a bus because she laughed at him for asking her to date him. Killing the disciplinarian administrator, he even went to the extent of burning down the whole orphanage, killing everyone inside it. St. Estes is where he acquired his philosophy that life had no meaning and laws were only words people were forced to follow. This character is the definition of fully mentally deranged, and being around him is like putting your head inside a crocodile's mouth. Who is Carnage, and what was his first twisted comic book appearance? Carnage was first introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man number 361 in April 1992, and was created by the writer David Michelinie and artist Mark Bagley. In the comic, we saw Eddie Brock sharing a cell with none other than Cletus Kasady. Cletus Kasady was jailed in Rikers Island prison for 11 murders, but kept bragging about how he'd killed dozens more. Eddie was visibly frustrated and annoyed at Kasady as he thought Cletus was inferior to him. Soon after, when it was least expected, Venom barged into Eddie's cell and bonded back with him, and they escaped the prison. During the breakout, Venom left its offspring in the prison cell, and due to having no emotional attachment to it, he did not bother telling Eddie about its existence. Soon after, the offspring attached themselves to Cletus, bonding perfectly. Their bond was even more potent than Venom and Eddie's, which caused the symbiote to be stronger, more violent, and far more deadly than Venom. Hence, Carnage was created. They escaped prison and instantly started killing anyone and everyone they saw. And after every murder, they wrote down just one word: Carnage. Oof, talk about being ruthless. Due to Cletus' psychopathic tendencies and Carnage having all of Venom's and Spider-Man's abilities, not only was he stronger than Venom, but he was far more potent than those two combined. Can you imagine how strong he was? When Spider-Man heard about these murders, he suspected it to be Venom, but boy, he was wrong. As soon as he encountered Carnage, he was thrown and beaten up easily. He realized that Carnage was not something he could deal with alone. This made Spider-Man desperate enough to make a truce with Venom to beat Carnage. But why would Venom want to help Spider-Man defeat his own offspring? It's because not only did Carnage wish to kill the other people, but he also had no remorse for beating and eating up other symbiotes. This caused Venom to be one of his primary targets. After both Spider-Man and Venom teamed up against Carnage, they could barely defeat him using a sonic weapon that supposedly killed him. But the last few panels did hint at his revival, and as we all know, symbiotes are literally the toughest to erase from existence. Fun fact, did you know when the character of Carnage was being made, they had decided to name it Chaos and then Ravage before settling on Carnage? What makes Carnage so dangerous? As we know and have seen from numerous comics and even movies, Venom was one of the strongest symbiotes ever to exist, and yet he was scared for his life whenever he went up against our very own Carnage. In Venom's case, we often had seen Venom and his host fighting with each other to take control. They talked back to each other and got beaten up just because of it. But still, they maintained their two distinctive personalities. They believed that both of them had different minds and bodies and wishes. In fact, they even called and referred to themselves as we instead of I, showing how different they considered each other to be from themselves. We are Venom. Unlike Venom, Carnage and Kasady had a way greater bond than anyone could imagine. Due to Carnage being mixed with Kasady's blood and bonding with him at the microcellular level, Carnage actually considered himself and Kasady to be one. He didn't fight for power with Kasady as they both shared the same motive of destroying everything and creating chaos in the world. Plus, another reason Venom was horrified of Carnage was that Carnage was red in color, showing the level of bonding it has with its host. Venom's species, also known as the Clintar, the same as their planet's name, had no love or affection towards their own species or offspring. In their species, the offsprings were always a tad bit stronger than their parents, but most were eaten up at birth. But because Carnage was born on Earth, his powers were amplified to such an extent that eating him up was not really an option. Scary. All of these reasons, plus his bloodthirst, made him one of the deadliest villains of all time. Spider-Man crossover event Maximum Carnage. After the events of The Amazing Spider-Man 361, the subsequent appearance of Carnage, and probably one of his most ruthless appearances, is the Spider-Man crossover event Maximum Carnage, released on the 16th of September 1994. During The Amazing Spider-Man 361, the red murderous alien symbiote was supposedly destroyed by Spider-Man and Venom. This incident caused Kasady to lose all his powers. And due to this, he was detained at Ravencroft's asylum underneath the tightest security to ensure he could not harm anyone else. What they didn't realize while detaining him is that Carnage had first bonded with Cletus through a cut and hence was bonded to him via blood, making them almost inseparable. Due to them being bonded in such a way, the symbiote had already mutated Cletus's blood prior to their encounter with Spider-Man and Venom. This mutation enabled Cletus to summon an exact replica of his previous symbiote partner, also known as Carnage. After Cletus Kasady broke out of imprisonment with his symbiote partner's help, he started calling himself Carnage again. He freed his inmate, Shriek. Shriek had the power to manipulate sound, and her traumatic past made her mentally ill, which made her extremely dangerous to anyone and everyone around her. After freeing her, the duo went on an insane killing spree, embedding fear into the hearts of many people and even superheroes. They even recruited other supervillains such as Doppelganger, an evil clone of Spider-Man who was created by Magus and had 6 arms and 2 legs, becoming the perfect spider. Demogoblin, a more vigorous and superior hobgoblin who took extra powers from the Demon Lord, making him stronger than he ever was as a hobgoblin. And Carrion, a direct antagonist of Spider-Man who knew his real identity and blamed him for the death of his dear Gwen Stacy. OMG talked about being strong enough to take over the world and yet yearning for more power. Whew, can you imagine how strong they were? A symbiote who was more robust than both Venom and Spider-Man, a woman who was psychopathic and could control sound, an evil version of Spider-Man himself but more advanced, and all these people were more than enough to beat the Avengers from the MCU. After recruiting all these supervillains and turning them into one of the deadliest squads ever made, he called them all his family. He claimed the position of their father. But this was not a loving family as we expect every family to be. Oh no. This was the exact opposite. All of these members hated Carnage. They always thought how happy and free they would be if Carnage were to be erased from existence. The only reason the group stayed intact was that they were highly devoted to Shriek. As the group started killing more and more people, increasing the death toll like crazy, several prominent heroes and villains such as Spider-Man, Captain America, Black Cat, Venom, and so on all joined forces and worked together to stop the red psychopathic symbiote. The heroes started attacking, but were soon in a predicament between Venom's strong desire to get rid of Carnage, once and for all, and Spider-Man's view of not using violence. This caused the group to have no coordination at all, and allowed Shriek to use her psychic powers to corrupt everyone's minds, turning them into bloodthirsty beings and allowing the murderers to continue their rampage. Soon after, Carnage turned on his own group, attacking everyone in his path. This battle caused Shriek to lose her focus on her psychic abilities, and noticing this, the superheroes took full advantage of her handicap and used a device from Rand Corporation that projected feelings of love and hope into the villains, overwhelming them and leaving them defenseless. Seeing there was no way Carnage would have been able to defeat all the superheroes himself, he fled the scene by faking his own death by covering a victim in a similar symbiotic suit to his, while all his group members were caught and captured. One might think that after such an overwhelming defeat, Carnage would have fled and replanned his next move. But nope, as soon as the heroes disbanded and left, Carnage ambushed Venom, trying his best to eat Venom up. But he didn't realize that the device used on them still had its effects on him, leaving him confused and unorganized. Hashtag bamboozled. This state of confusion and dilemma gave Venom a massive advantage in the fight. He beat up Carnage left and right, front and back, and even thrashed him on the ground, leaving the red symbiote almost defenseless. Because of it, he tackled Carnage straight into an electric generator, where he was beaten senseless and left to be cut up into a million pieces.
What are you doing?
Carnage is one of the deadliest villains in Spider-Man the Animated Series. Spider-Man Season 3, Episode 10, Venom Returns. In Season 3, Episode 10 of Spider-Man, we are shown that the police were gathering in a building where Kasady was taking refuge. Kasady seemed to be trapped inside with a lot of lethal weapons. Most people, at first glance, would think that he's stuck inside with nowhere to go, but our sociopathic friend had other plans. After Detective Lee created a distraction and entered the building, Cletus Kasady separated her from the other police officers, officially trapping her in a room with him. As he was about to finish her off, laughing hysterically in her face, Spider-Man came in, barging through the door. Cletus, being the sadistic person he is, revealed a bomb attached to his chest and proudly exclaimed that within 30 seconds, the whole place was going to go kaboom. What's wrong with these villains telling their plans to the heroes so that they can stop them? Like, seriously. Spider-Man quickly tore the bomb off of Kasady and swung away. He was confused about where to throw the bomb, as the bomb had a vast radius, when he realized that the sky was the best option. He swung the bomb in the air with seconds left to spare. In the next scene, we are shown a duo who found a meteor that crashed near them. Curiosity overtook them and went close to the mirror when suddenly, a ghoul-like creature got stuck to them. When Spider-Man got back on top of the building, he was visited by Madam Web, who warned him that his next foe would be unstoppable, unless he could give up on fear and rely on unlikely allies. He was confused, but swung away after she disappeared. Soon, the scene cut off to Eddie, who was talking about how he just wanted to save everyone and how Spider-Man always stopped him whenever he had an excellent opportunity to get extensive news articles. He soon relished the memories of when Venom bonded with him and how powerful he felt. He started to loudmouth Spider-Man for taking away Venom and claimed to know who Spider-Man really was. And if he did know, why wouldn't he tell the others? That's exactly what everyone thought. That's when Eddie revealed that the only reason he wasn't telling anyone was that he wanted to take revenge for himself, and that when Venom returned, he would destroy Spider-Man as Venom. Soon it's shown that a psychiatrist was telling him how Venom was just a delusion, and he was never really Venom. Soon, Kasady was shifted to his neighboring cell, where they instantly started fighting, when suddenly we hear Dormammu calling out for Mordo. When Mordo appeared in front of him, he was informed by Dormammu that Venom was finally back on Earth. He sent Mordo to Ravenclaw Asylum to talk to Eddie about it. When Mordo appeared in front of Eddie at first, he thought he was imagining things. But later on, when Mordo talked about the symbiote, Eddie agreed to become Dormammu's slave in exchange for the symbiote. Upon listening to his conversation between Eddie and Mordo, Kasady begged Mordo to give him the symbiote. Damn, Venom must be super important to the Marvel Comics if Dormammu himself needs him. Soon, Spider-Man was going to Stark Industry with Deborah to meet Dr. Connors. They were looking at the interdimensional probe. While all this was going down, Eddie was suddenly bonded with Venom, and he instantly broke out of the cell. Back to Peter Parker, when the interdimensional probe was activated, the power was too big to be controlled, and everyone ran in fear for their lives. Soon, he realized that Venom was the real culprit behind all this, and he ran out as Spider-Man to fight him. They battled hard, and while all this was going down, the symbiote's offspring, also known as Carnage, broke into Kasady's cell and bonded with him. Carnage soon met both Venom and Spider-Man, but before he attacked Spider-Man, Warhammer came in between. The psychiatrist who was helping Eddie ran into the room only for Carnage to fling her away, hurting her and Eddie's consciousness. He jumps in to save her and is persuaded by her to fight for the right thing. In the ending scene, we see Spider-Man's unconscious body in Carnage's arms, almost about to be killed. This episode here was so famous that it was almost a deciding factor on whether to keep Carnage as one of his deadliest foes or not. As soon as Carnage was shown, he instantly became a fan favorite and one of the most hit characters in the Marvel Universe. In fact, because of this, the next episode of the series is named Carnage Talk About Uproar.
We needed one more life force.
Spider-Man Season 3, Episode 11, Carnage. The episode began with Carnage about to kill Spider-Man, but he was stopped by Venom, who claims Spider-Man to be his and only his. As soon as they started fighting amongst themselves, Mordo appeared in front of them in his astral form, demanding that their master's command was to get the interdimensional machine and go to him. Carnage jumped on his commands and told Venom that Mordo won't always be here to save his behind. As they swung away, Spider-Man woke to J. Jonah Jameson trying to open up his mask, but he was stopped by Warhammer, who threw J. Jonah Jameson out of the compound. Back in Mordo's lair, Venom swung out, claiming his part was done. And when Carnage tried to chase him down, Dormammu stopped him and sent him on a mission to kill anyone and everyone he saw. Dormammu is an evil entity killing so many people. Damn. Soon, Spider-Man found Carnage trying to eat an officer and started to fight him, but was quickly taken down by Carnage. He started sucking out Spider-Man's life force, but was called back by Dormammu. Back in Peter's home, while Mary Jane and Aunt May were waiting for Peter, Eddie showed up and was told by Aunt May that Peter was back in the Bugle. While he was leaving, Mary Jane confronted him and was slyly told off by Eddie that Peter loved her, shocking her and making her blush. Venom barged into the Bugle, aiming to eat his ex-boss, but Dr. Ashley stopped it, and it seemed to work, until he saw Spider-Man on the ceiling, which enraged him and compelled him to attack Spidey. He beat Spider-Man to a pulp until Iron Man saved him. But in turn, Venom took control of Eddie, kidnapping Dr. Ashley, and ran away. While Iron Man chased Venom alongside Spidey, Carnage and Mordo were inputting the life force into the magical urn to bring back Dormammu. When they realized they were short just a few life forces, Carnage laughed hysterically at this sentence as he swung out to take more lives. No wonder Kasady and Carnage are literally the same people. While Spider-Man chased down Venom, he was again visited by Madam Web, where he was shown a vision of Eddie telling Dr. Ashley how he was in control and didn't want to hurt anyone else and confessed his love to her, while she accepted that she had the same feelings for him. She tried persuading Eddie to give up the symbiote and took him to Dr. Connors. That was where they conducted an experiment which separated the symbiote from Eddie. She then showed Kasady waiting for someone who turned out to be none other than Detective Lee. He transformed into Carnage and attacked her, but was quickly stopped by Spider-Man. Carnage, enraged by the interference, started sucking out Spidey's life force. But before he could complete it, Dr. Ashley jumped out of her car, confronting the red symbiote. His anger shifted to her, and instantly attacked her, sucking her life force out of her. Spider-Man rushed to Eddie to try and find help. He told Eddie everything, and as soon as Eddie got to know about it, he was filled with anger. And he knew there was no way Spider-Man alone could beat him. So he jumped onto the container containing Venom and bonded back with him again. He claimed Spider-Man to be his ally for just this once, and they both returned to fight Carnage alongside Iron Man as a team. While Iron Man went against Mordo, Venom checked up on Ashley. Carnage threw the magical urn containing the life forces into the portal, which caused a huge blast and let Dormammu pass through. But no. We know our Spidey is a genius, and he'd come up with a plan. He jumped back behind the device and turned the machine's polarity. Woohoo! You rock, Spidey! This reversal caused all the stolen life forces to return from the portal, and while Dormammu held onto the border of the portal, Carnage attacked Spidey, who was about to double up the sucking power of the portal. He pinned Spidey against the wall, causing Spidey to scream in pain and beg Eddie for help. That's when the Venom symbiote took over Eddie, and claimed that there was no Eddie anymore, only Venom, before jumping on Carnage, saving Spidey from his doom. While Carnage fought with Venom, Spidey quickly tried to close the portal, but they soon realized that it was somehow linked to Carnage. So the only way to close the portal was to send Carnage through as well. Upon hearing this, Venom threw Carnage inside the portal, but as we all know, Carnage isn't going down without a fight. He quickly grabbed Ashley, and in order to save her, Venom pushed her away and got grabbed by Carnage instead, and got pulled into the portal with him. With Venom gone and Mordo escaping, Spidey wondered if Eddie was okay and hoped that he would find peace in the other dimension he was stuck in. But just as he was getting lost in his thoughts, he was transported to Madame Web's realm, where she told him that he might have to make a similar sacrifice someday, and that she was preparing him for a horror beyond belief. This two-part episode showing Carnage's birth and so-called death is one of the most viewed episodes from the Spider-Man animated series. In fact, the more you watch it, the more you'll understand how mentally ill Kasady was, and how he managed to become an even greater foe to Spider-Man than Venom.
See, I really hate clones.
Spider-Wars and Carnage's appearance. Spider-Wars Chapter 1. I really hate clones. At the beginning of the episode, we were shown a completely destroyed world covered in fire and ashes with no life to be seen for miles. Suddenly, Spider-Man was transported in it, and he was just as confused as we were to see where he really was. When he recognized that he was in New York, he realized that he was gone for way too long, and the place where he was the destroyed Queens. Soon, Beyonder showed up, telling him that his Aunt May no longer existed in this reality. This statement really pissed Spidey off, and he asked Beyonder who was responsible for all this destruction. This is when Beyonder told him that it was Spider-Man himself, and he was shell-shocked. His Spidey senses tingled, and he fled just before the building blew up. It was Goblin and Hobgoblin together. When the Daily Bugle was making an announcement mentioning Spider-Man and his war against the city, the two goblins rampaged through the building, after blackmailing J. Jonah Jameson into giving their secret codes. The Goblin dropped his co-worker Robertson, who was saved by our very own Spidey. Everyone would have expected Robertson to be grateful, but he turned around and tried punching Spidey, telling him he'd do more if he had powers. He claimed that Spidey was the only one who sent the goblins to attack the city, and them, leaving Spidey in a perplexed state. He quickly confronted the goblins, who claimed it was all because Spider-Man ordered them to do so. Soon, Goblin grabbed Jonah and fled, leaving Hobgoblin to take care of Spider-Man. They soon used Jonah and threw him off just to be saved by Spider-Man. And then was the moment we were all waiting for. As soon as he climbed up the building to stop the goblins, a red slimy goo captured him, and it was revealed to be Spider-Man, but he was different. His mouth resembled Carnage, his reddish webs resembled the Carnage, but his voice, it was Peter Parker's. The Spider-Man from this destroyed universe was wearing Spidey's costume, which threw Peter off again. Just as the evil Spidey was about to devour Spidey, he was teleported away. Whew, that was close. Soon it was disclosed that who saved Spider-Man was none other than Madame Web. But just as Madame Web told him, Beyonder grew weaker as time passed. Spider-Man was confused and weak, so he begged Madame Web for help, who revealed a lot of variations of Spider-Man standing behind him. After a long and confusing conversation, it was revealed that the dimension they were in was Ben Reilly's, and the monster Spider-Man who attacked them was his twin. He was shocked to see so many different versions of himself. Ben explained that he was Peter's clone, and that in his universe, Peter Parker met Miles Warren, who cloned Peter Parker. This made our own Spidey relive the memories of his love Mary Jane, who died, as she was a clone as well. Riley continued that when Riley was trying to take down the Kingpin, Peter Parker came and beat him up instead of helping him. Then, suddenly, Carnage bonded with Peter Parker, turning him into a murderous, deadlier version of Carnage, turning into Spider Carnage. When all the Spider-Man heard this, questioned why they were there, and that was when Beyonder showed them a future where everything gets destroyed because of this. The city, the world, and the universes, in turn, destroying all realities. Wait. Time out. Destroy all realities? Oh my god, now this is an Avengers level threat. After knowing that the realities were damned if Spider Carnage pressed the detonator, they all swung out in style to stop the creature once and for all. The scene cut off to Kingpin talking to Spider Carnage, who told him that he has a machine that they could use to take control of everyone's mind, and that they would soon get what they deserved. Even though Kingpin didn't trust him fully, he decided to let Spider-Carnage do his thing. Soon, the Spider-Man crept into the building Kingpin was, and were quickly discovered by him. While all the Spider-Men fought off the minions, the two goblins attacked them. They somehow fled from the scene and hid, but their location was given away when Armored Spider-Man decided to attack the goblins without any backup plan. This idea would come back to bite him in the ass when the goblin shot him with a paralyzing ray, which forced the Beyonder to bring him back. The rest of the Spider-Man rushed off to confront the Kingpin and the others. They had the element of surprise and the power of 10 arms. But just as they were about to win, the Spider-Man with the mutation problem turned into Man-Spider, a version of Spidey who resembles a spider in both looks and behavior. This distraction helped Kingpin and Spider-Carnage flee, while Spider-Man from Earth 616 and Ben Reilly were left alone to fend for themselves against the Man-Spider. The best part about this whole episode is that we know symbiotes can retain their previous host's memories and skills along with their powers. Can you imagine how deadly Carnage is with the intellect of Spider-Man? And if you think this was amazing, just wait until you hear about the next episode, because it's all about to go down.
Him completely insane. Spider-Carnage will detonate a disintegrator bomb.
Spider-Wars Chapter 2, Farewell Spider-Man. The episode began with the Beyonder explaining to the powerless variant of Spider-Man how he could actually be of help to his other variants while they fought off Man-Spider and Kingpin's other subordinates. Meanwhile, while all of them were fighting, Kingpin and Spider-Carnage completed the machine, which Spider-Carnage claimed to be the mind control device. Kingpin ordered Spider-Carnage to activate the device, which, of course, he gladly did. Little did Kingpin know that he was ordering the demolition of all the realities altogether. The device shifted up, and just as Carnage was about to complete the final step, the powerless variant of Spider-Man came in and threw a sonic grenade at both of them, immobilizing them temporarily. Spider-Carnage unfortunately grabbed him by his neck, and as this variant was powerless, there was nothing he could do to fend off Spider-Carnage. Beyonder realized there was absolutely no choice but to transport the Man-Spider variant back to where he was. And in order to make it out alive, he must return to his own reality. He told Madam Web his plan and transported the Man-Spider back to his dorm, which caused the Man-Spider to go feral and attack him, and within the blink of an eye, both of them disappeared. Ouch. I low-key kind of feel bad now. Anyway, let's see what happens next. Kingpin grabs the powerless Spider-Man and threatens to tear him limb by limb when all the other Spider-Men tell him how Spider-Carnage actually intended to destroy the whole multiverse. At first, Kingpin didn't believe a word they said, but as soon as the ground shook and he saw the portal in the sky, he confronted Spider-Carnage. They started fighting each other, and surprisingly, the squad of Spider-Men disabled the machine. But before they could rejoice at their victory, Spider-Carnage grabbed Riley and stole the bomb, which was powerful enough to blow up the whole building. The bomb blew up almost instantly. And just as we thought that the Spider-Man didn't make it, Madam Web transported them and Kingpin back to her realm, saving their lives. Just as things seemed to have gotten better, Madam Web told them that the Spider-Carnage had teleported himself to another reality, the Armored Spider-Man's reality. Man, Spider-Carnage really doesn't give up. When Spider-Man from Earth 616 asks if she can send them to another reality, she says she has enough power to send one of them. Earth 616 takes up the position of being the one to save that reality. When he reaches this reality, he realized how loved and cherished he was there. He jumped inside his lab, where he was confronted by his fiancée, Gwen Stacy. Spider-Man was confused as he had no idea who Gwen was and had never met her in his life. Soon, she told him about a party which was being held for him, but he soon jumped out of the window to another room where he found a huge robot. He found it very cool and impressive, but what he didn't know was that Spider-Carnage had activated the robot and had ordered it to destroy Spider-Man. The robot grabbed him, and the fight ensued. But Spidey soon understood that the robot was voice activated, and not by just anybody's voice. It only obeyed Peter's voice. Both Spider-Man and Spider-Carnage fought for control of the spider robot, which caused the robot to malfunction and self-destruct. Man, even a robot can't tolerate two Spideys. Just as he was about to go after Spider-Carnage, he saw Mary Jane walk in. He kept telling her how much he loved her and cared for her, but every time he did, she would act surprised. Then that's when the harsh truth hit him. It was not his Mary Jane. As he was coming back to his senses, Emma confronted him about everything he said. Oopsie. But before he could explain, everyone starting from this universe's J. Jonah Jameson to Kingpin all came in to call him to the ballroom. As soon as he realized Kingpin was his lawyer, He took this opportunity to send everyone away, but he was trapped by Kingpin, who seemed to be working for Spider-Carnage now. Kingpin, you evil fat man. Of course, Spider-Man instantly regretted his decision to trust Kingpin, but before he could say anything, Spider-Carnage webbed up his mouth, and then both Kingpin and him, disguised as Spider-Man, went to the ball. But thanks to his love interest, Gwen, who had put a tracker on him, found and rescued him. He quickly swung down and attacked Spider-Carnage, who was in the middle of making a very creepy and uncomfortable speech. They started fighting yet again, but this time, Spidey had a different plan to beat Spider-Carnage. As expected, Spider-Carnage had caught Spidey, and just as he was about to slice him up, Gwen shot a sonic gun at Spider-Carnage, but was almost immediately stopped by Kingpin. Spider-Carnage quickly snapped Gwen out of Kingpin's arms and fled away. Spider-Man thought of chasing him, beating him to a pulp, but that's when he realized that his enemy was also him. He decided to try and understand his enemy instead of fighting him mindlessly. Looks like our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man has a trick up his sleeve. Woo! When Spider-Carnage was about to fix the bomb to the machine to destroy this timeline, Spidey showed up suddenly, where he was told by Carnage that this time, not only would it destroy the dimension, anything and everything sucked into the hole would cease to exist. Spider-Man took a huge breath and pulled off his mask. He started to talk to Carnage about how he couldn't be evil because Peter Parker himself was not evil. As soon as Spider-Carnage thought that there was nothing that could stop him, Spider-Man pulled up Uncle Ben. Yes, that's right. The person whom he loved the most. Piped inside Spider-Carnage, Peter Parker started reliving his old memories with Uncle Ben and took control of his body. After a very emotional and memorable reunion, Uncle Ben finally managed to open his eyes to reality and asked him to fight evil within him. He tried his best to expel Carnage from his body, but when he realized that it was too hard for him to do so, he ran to the bomb, begging for forgiveness from Uncle Ben. He tore off the bomb, shutting down the portal, and threw himself inside it, destroying himself forever. Uncle Ben went up to Spider-Man and told him that he'll miss him, and when he saw Peter crying, he knew what had happened to him in Peter's dimension. Soon after this, all the Spider-Men were sent back to their realities, but Spider-Man was sent along with the powerless variant of him to meet his creator, Stan Lee. The episode ends with both of them appreciating the other and Spidey talking about how much he loves his life. And now he'll be traveling across dimensions, finding the real Mary Jane. It brought tears to my eyes. This story was not only one of the best to ever be animated, but Spider-Wars is the most emotional version of Spidey and one of the deadliest versions of Carnage as well.
There you are. Death to you, father.
Carnage and his most notable top 3 famous toasts. As we saw how evil Carnage could be in every form, he'd made numerous appearances in the comics and live-action movies. Some of the most notable appearances are 3. A great white shark. When Carnage was stranded on an island, desperate to take revenge on his foes, he would use anyone for his host, but he realized there were no humans there. He decided to use a great white shark as his host, turning him into the Carnage Shark. 2. Ben Reilly. When Peter Parker of his universe was absent, the crime peaked. Ben Reilly took up the mantle of Scarlet Spider. With more and more symbiote-related problems, Scarlet decided to look into the matter, but he didn't realize that he was slowly being engulfed by the Carnage Symbiote, turning him into the Spider Carnage. 1. Cletus Kasady. Let's not pretend that we didn't know he was on the list. All the other variants and hosts might be cool, but Cletus takes the dub. Not only was he the original host of Carnage, but he was also the most bloodthirsty one, who would kill anyone and everyone for the sheer fun of it. There might be other variants that were stronger, but Cletus was the evilest version of them all. Carnage definitely deserves all the hype it gained over his stay in the Marvel Universe. There is literally so much depth to all of Carnage and its numerous hosts that I feel like just binge reading about every variant ever. Not only is his character evil, but he is also literally the embodiment of evil, as mentioned by Kingpin. I would suggest to you guys watch all of the episodes consisting of him. Maybe try out playing games that feature him, and much more, because I'm definitely going to. We'll see you in the next video. Till then, check out the YouTube short made on Carnage. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Let there be carnage.